Welcome to the Mind Matters Show. I'm Dr. Craig Pohlman, and my guest is none other than the Psych Mom,
Woo!
Dr. Barrie Morganstein.
Yeah, hey.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about something very interesting, learning assessment, how to use qualitative information. We've got a game planned later just for Dr. Barrie, so stick around for that. But before we get into our conversation, maybe you could define the difference between quantitative information and qualitative information in an assessment. What's the difference between
Absolutely. Well, I think when a lot of people do assessments, when clinicians do assessments and when families go and usually children do assessments, they are very consumed with what are my kids' numbers? What's my kids' IQ? How smart are they? How good are they at math? And people get really wrapped up too much in the quantitative piece of this information. But I really like to talk about the qualitative part. I feel like the quantitative is only just a little bit of it. And part of the reason I love doing assessment is because it's really like sleuthing. It's like detective work. And I think that the qualitative part really taps into that. So like a good example would be is if I'm doing some achievement testing and I'm looking at reading and spelling and phonological awareness and understanding if kids can make connections between letters and the sounds that they make. And so when I have a child who's reading to me, I want to see if I don't want to know just what their score is in reading. I want to know, are they sounding out words or are they able to read words because they're really just familiar with the sight words? And when they do spelling, I want to know what are the types of errors that they're making. Are they making phonologically based errors, or are they actually spelling even though their score was incorrect and their score might be iffy? Do they have a really good base in phonics?
That's a really good point. Give us an example. What is a phonologically based error when you're spelling a word? What would an example of that be?
Oh, gosh. Putting me on the spot to think of a good example, so maybe you'll help me think of one. But something where the child might spell the word incorrectly, but if you read it, you can understand, you know what word it is, and when you sound it out in the way that they've written it, it sounds exactly what...
Like how we should be spelling the word,
exactly,
actually.
Yes.
So in first grade,
house could be a good example. If a child spells it H-O-W-S-E, that's obviously not the correct spelling, but it still spells house.
They're hearing it.
They're hearing house correctly, and they're spelling it in a way that does make sense, even though it's not accurate.
Would it be fair to say that you could have two kids that get the same score on a test, say a reading test,
Yep.
and maybe even a low score, but for very different reasons?
Absolutely.
And so that's where the qualitative information comes in.
Yes,
all right.
definitely.
So
that's why I don't like to get wrapped up in scores and encourage parents to just use it kind of as a general idea to see where your child might be stronger and where they're struggling a little bit more, but not to get so wrapped up in scores only and really look at what's going on underneath the scores.
Now, let's talk about attention,
Okay.
because I think attention is something that can play a part across an assessment. Where might you see some qualitative information there? Well,
a really great example is I just gave feedback information to a family just the other day, and this was on the performance part of the nonverbal portion of the WISC, the IQ cognitive measure.
That's not the detergent. That
yes,
WISC, that's
yes,
the most
spelled differently, I believe. Yes, W-I-S-C instead of W-I-S-K. But that's exactly what we're talking about. They both sound the same, but they're spelled differently. Good example. Good,
Thank you.
Great job.
Good hosting.
Great job. A good example would be a child did really well on one of the perceptual reasoning subtests, but did not do well on another. And what was going on is their performance was really inconsistent. So the score was low, but why was the score lower on that particular subtest? And their performance was really inconsistent. And what I was noting was that they were fatiguing over time, and their attention was decreasing a little bit over time, and they became more careless, and they were not looking at kind of the whole picture. They would kind of zone in on one item and then try to kind of make the pair fit with that one particular one. So I think it was really more related to their attention, and especially when you see a child do better on harder items and miss easier items. Right. That's really where the qualitative part comes in versus just looking at the pure score.
So the pattern of responses behind the score are really important. Really interesting stuff. Let's finish up with a game we've designed just for you, Dr. Barrie, that will tax both your knowledge as a mother and your pop culture knowledge.
Okay.
You know so much about pop culture. It's called Match That Baby.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to give you a movie or television show, and you name the baby from that movie. If you need help, I'll give you multiple choice options.
The character baby.
The character.
The character baby.
Okay. The movie Look Who's Talking. What was the name of the baby in that movie?
It was a boy. It was Can I skip that?
Your multiple choice items,
Okay.
options. Mickey,
No.
Mikey,
Mikey.
or Marty.
Mikey,
There you go.
Mikey, Mikey,
All right,
Mikey.
next. Full House.
Michelle.
Without even any multiple
Michelle.
choice. That's awesome. The Hangover.
Did the baby have a name? All right,
Was
try
it
me.
was it Carlos, Kevin, or Kieran?
Baby Carlos?
Carlos, 3 for 3, plus you got one of them without any multiple choice. Awesome. Thank you for being here. Check out the Psych Mom show on
Please.
Southeast Psych Studios. It's great. Read the Psych Mom blog.
Yep,
You
at
can,
thepsychmom.com.
right? You can follow Psych Mom on Twitter.
Yep,
and
and
like
Facebook.
Psych Mom on Facebook.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. So
Great.
thanks for being
Thank
here.
you so much.
This is the Mind Matters Show. I'm Dr. Craig Pohlman, and we are saving the world one learner at a time.